Welcome to Caicos Island, Turks and Caicos. We are taking an XCrafts Embraer Regional Jet ERJ 145 version 2 from Caicos Island to Jamaica. We're running Walker Airline Virtual Airline. We are using SimBrief and Navigraph for some of our navigation options. And this is an actual flight that flew yesterday. Today's flight was canceled. Typically this runs on a daily basis, but between the Provinciales to Kingston. We leave at 3:35, and it is currently, I think, about a little after 3 o'clock now. Yesterday's flight didn't leave till 4:06, so it gives us a little bit of flexway. You know, it's Caribbean Airlines. So, Inter-Caribbean Airways, I didn't have a livery that matched that, but this was the closest thing I had. So that's the flight that we're taking. It is an actual flight, so it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day here for a flight. The flight itself is about just over an hour. So let's do. The purpose of this video is to go through the checklist and using XChecklist, and so we'll focus on that. But to start off with, let's do a quick walk around of the aircraft. So we've got the left wingtip, left tire, right tire. Notice nice detail on the legs, the labels there. Wing flap, the right wing service door. Let's go ahead and open the service door while we're there. The pitot, nose wheel, got lights in there. External left, nice decaling on the side of the aircraft. Go up to the cabin door and get that opened up. All right, stairs down, door open. Let's pop into the interior. Let's open up the cabin door, check the door here. We've got our light switches, but they won't work until we actually have have power. And here's the galley slide with the service door. So let's go ahead and get to it. Get this flight on the road. We start off with the EFB. Ground services, and finish up the connecting everything. We take the engine covers off, open the back left cargo door, which we didn't do on walking around, and connect the GPU. No run jetway, and so we'll press the N key, which I have assigned in XChecklist as the next checklist item. All right, now notice the first time I checked it, if you may have heard it, it didn't do anything. If there's a blue bar around here, that means the EFB has your keyboard captured. So I'm sure I'll probably do that one more time during this demo. Okay, weight and balance. You have a choice of either entering the payload or ZFW and a fuel weight, or do request SimBrief company load sheet. We'll do that. We've got our Caicos Island and to Jamaica, ERJ 145, and our data here matches our SimBrief load sheet that I checked out earlier. So we view it, load it, and then check off that. Okay, next thing we do is go to the battery 1, battery 2 on. Now what happens in some of the section here is it checks to see if you actually have the GPU connected and it's supplying power. And so we'll take a look at that, what it's actually looking at. In the meantime, what we're going to do is switch from ET mode to chronograph. I like to try to get out of here in about 20 minutes. We will see, click it once to switch to chronograph mode, and then again to activate it. And there you can see the second hands going forward. All right, so now we turn on Avionics Master 2. Come down here and pop it over here. Watch it power up. Checklist has already gone ahead because it's already done this check, and that going to sys and electrical, it verified that the GPU was connected, and we do the same thing. If the APU was connected, it would be in this position here. Everything looks good. So then we'll pop up here and connect the GPU, and I go back down here. GPU is now connected here, and we can go ahead and turn on the Avionics Master 1. All right, just make sure that this powers up okay. All right, that looks great. Now what we want to do is no, we don't want that. We want the radio. We want to get the weather information for the EFB takeoff planning. So we need 132.450. Oh, okay, it's already set there. Cool.
7, dew point 20, QNH 1014, transition level, flight level 070, advise on initial contact you have, information, Juliet. Providenciales, information, Juliet, 20.
Perfect. We got it captured over here. Come over to the EFB, Takeoff Performance. We are, in fact, taking off on runway 10 and arriving on 12, at least right now. Wind is light and variable, so we can go ahead and just put it on 00. Temp is 271014 for the QNH. Pop that over here. Takeoff weight is automatically filled in from the weight and balance. If you manually enter the information as far as the airport and stuff, you may have to manually enter it here as well. So we do a compute and send to PFD, and then I'm going to click outside here. So that takes care of the takeoff and performance calculation screen. So press N key. Now we do the oxygen test. I hear the audible. The CVR test, we got green. Essential power is covered, and AC power and backup are correctly set. So I click on the N key and do the attendant call. It's hard to tell with the background noise there. Now we do a fire test. I'm going to pop up the ICAS so we can see what's actually going on this side. Press and hold the fire test key. Handles light up. We've got the baggage light, and we've got the messages here. So that is a good fire test. Press the N key to move forward from that. All right, now we do the guest lock. So I bring the yoke back, release, and count to 10, 1001 or less when it should be released here. Okay, there you see it's released. I release the yoke on my desktop, bring it back, and release the gust lock. All right, so if I'm going to notice how slow this turns. I already had it, the yoke on my desk already slid all the way over. There's no hydraulic pressure. So we turn on hydraulic pressure, and now it's very responsive. Come back over here, turn that off, and try hydraulic 2. And do a full range test. Rudder. Okay, so that is all good. Next we turn on, now look at the yoke, turn on the autopilot, and notice it takes control of the yoke. and then turn it off. There's actually an audible. I can't hear it with all the background noise. I don't know what's going on with the speakers. It was working earlier. And now we'll go back up here and just make sure the hydraulics are turned off again. Next, we select our speed. Now I set it for 210 and it'll become obvious when we take off. When we're climbing, we are going to try to intercept the speed at 210 and then activate the speed control here when we do that. All right, the next thing to do is the MFD safety check. So we come down to the MFD, and first thing we do is we check the fuel. Fuel is balanced and correct quantity, and then we have to go to takeoff. We have at least 8 quarts of oil, and we've got our doors look good there. Come back over here to the fuel and do a reset. And we do that if they're turnaround mode, or if the APU has been running or just hasn't been left correctly. That way you can track your fuel usage correctly for that particular flight. Now again, we checked the doors here, and we can go to sys, MFD, and speeds. And 127, 127, 137, that matches what we sent to the PFD right here. So if we want to change that, we click on the button and click again, and then we can use the knob. Same thing from over here. We can move that to 30 and 40. So but just remember, there's no auto throttle, so this is used for reference only. All right, so that completes the the cockpit safety flow, pages 1 through 3. Sorry. Next, bring up the FMS and the MFD. So first thing I'm going to do is turn off the nav and airport settings there, and then go into the listing here. So let's do a pause in it, load the GPS current position, and go to flight plan. You can load the flight plan by going to the flight plan list, and this is a regular X-plane formatted flight plan, or you can manually enter it. I'm going to go ahead and do manually enter the flight plan because I can explain some of the steps that are important to know. This is a standard X-plane honeycomb FMS unit implementation. You can look at the X-plane documentation for that. XCrafts in their documentation folder for the aircraft, you can go through an extended checklist out of that as well. All right, so I'm going to close that and take a look at I'm going to use manually import or manually enter the plane, the flight plan. So MKJ, all right, there we go. MKJP is the destination, and first waypoint is Bygone. All right, second one is airway UL 599. And that goes to Gabis. G-A-B-I-S. UL 599 Gabis, all right. And then the next waypoint is Tamap. Okay, so that enters the flight plan. When you enter the flight plan manually, you have to do what's called closing the flight plan. and that's putting the destination into the last waypoint. If you don't do that, I'll mention you'll know if what you need to do that. Why it didn't work. Anyways, so next we go to departure. I know I'm mumbling around. Runway T. I've gone through this too many times. And activate. Then we go to Perfinet, and we've got our climb, cruise, and descent speeds. We've got go up to our initial cruise altitude is 32,000, 320. Now, what I was starting to say is that if you haven't closed the flight plan, you would not be able to put in the initial cruise altitude, or it'll give you put it down here, but it won't put it down here as the init, and you'll have some other behavior that's not quite right. And then our fuel gauge as well, you won't be able to enter the fuel into the calculation. All right, so we did that, confirming it, and now what we want to do is go, let's see, we've got the departure runway, active flight plan, and cruise altitude, fuel, no errors. So now we go to performance init 5. All right, so perfinet 5 and confirm. Now we go to the perf page and go to takeoff, and then takeoff init 4 and confirm init there. All right, and then nav page, we want arrival, runway 12, ILS 12, Fable, and no star. So arrival and activate, and steep descent there. This K-map is right before Fable, so we'll just go ahead and close that up. And then we'll go up to 1, we just go through, there's no discontinuities here. And so now what we want to do is roll through it here just to make a double check. We will go to return, and we can either pick the plan page here, or there's a button on the glare shield. You can pick the click this to go from plan to the full. So in the plan mode, if we put it over the center and roll forward with your mouse wheel, then you can go from waypoint to waypoint. So we'll do that, and just to make sure there's nothing that looks strange, and we can adjust our range either using the dial key down here or using the one that's in your pop-up. And so we'll go Pablo, Kino, Cybug, and then Saluk, runway, and then we're into intercept point, and missed approach, and back to Kino and Saluk, and back to the airport. So that is good. So go ahead and cycle this around to page 1. That finishes programming the FMS. Now we're going to walk through. I pressed the N key twice there, so I'm going to arm the emergency light, turn on the nav light. Logo at night, it's not, so we'll leave that. Fasten belts and no smoking. So that works our way across there. Now we set this for 32,000. All right, 32,000 for the initial overhead. Now what we want to do is pop the ICAS again, so we can do it side by side. Put this in plan mode, the regular mode. And what we're going to do is set the engine takeoff mode. So to do that, we use the takeoff data portion of the overhead. We press the store key, and that activates the being able to do that. Use the decrement and increment to go back and forth, and store to activate that particular item. Takeoff mode is almost always going to be takeoff 1. We've got 27, I believe, for the... Yep, 27. For the temperature, that's ambient outside temperature. Press the store key. Reference anti-ice is almost always going to be off, so we just click on that. Once the white triangle is gone, then that is set. Now what we want to do is come back here, and we are in navigation mode right now. In nav mode, we want to change that to FMS mode, so FMS 1. Now the first flight of the day, you want to do a trims test, and so again, I'm going to just pop this out to make it easier here. I've got some keyboards that I'm got a throttle unit and my yoke unit, and I've got some buttons on there so I can do 2 at a time pretty easily. I'm just checking the roll and yaw, making sure I have full swing, full movement. All right, now back center. Pitch up while I'm doing that, and then pitch down. And there's an audible, not picking it up for some reason. It was earlier. I don't know what's going on with my sound. I was using a sound tool, and it does not seem to be working. I can hear it in the background a little bit. So we've got full range here. We bring it up to 7, which is the pretty much the standard. Matter of fact, it'll check to make sure it's 7. Okay, so that takes care of the trims test. All right, last here on this page, as we do the TCAS test, we cycle through to test. We got to cycle on the rest and end up at standby mode. So that takes care of the TCAS test. Next, we set our landing altitude, which is 60 or something like that. So we just set it at 100. So that sets the landing altitude. All right, we are at 19 minutes, so we're doing good. Come up here and turn the fuel pump 2 on, and what we're going to do is pop up the ICAS again, just so you can see we got APU off. So to turn the APU on, we switch the APU controller to on and wait until there's a yellow box, solid yellow box around there, and then we can do a start, release it, and it fires up. So we put this back around here. Now what I'm going to do is kind of go forward and skip, rather than waiting for it to come up to 100%, just go ahead and verify that we've got the transponder on standby. Oh, cabin lighting, don't want to forget that. So we got our overhead panel light knob there, and we've got our other lights that we can adjust over on the side panel there. All right, so we've done the cockpit lighting, transponder set, ice protection is good, and our 1014. Okay, so our altimeter is set correctly there. Now, hydraulic panel, get that turned on, and now we can go ahead and just double check what we've got here on the electrical panel. Go to sys and electric. We've got APU. We're not drawing any power on yet, but we have the GPU is furnishing power. So we go up here and disconnect the GPU, and then now we see that APU is actually drawing power. And so we can come over here for the ground services and disconnect the GPU. If we want to, we can plop over, again, my mouse, and double check. Now we have no GPU and just the APU over here. So let's go back over here. We can go forward service, aft cargo. Let's pop over to the door here. We're shut. Let's go ahead and the cabin door. Bring the stairs up, close the door. All right, and then we come in the cockpit, close the door here, and come back over here and get our chocks and stuff removed there. Now we can dismiss our caution again, as if we haven't done it enough times. Fuel pump 1 and 2 on. Air conditioning packs on. APU bleed on. We've got the X bleed open. Stereo light on. And come over here with the red beacon on. And transponder TARA. Okay. Now, just one more. Come over here. Takeoff is yellow, and AC, air conditioning, environmental is good. We are still pretty well balanced for fuel. Hydraulic is green. Electrical is good. So we go back over to the takeoff there. So we've done the check for that. Now we can we've been here for 24 minutes, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and
ground to cockpit. Ground to cockpit. Show me where you want to driving go. Up.
All right. So we've got Auto Ortho X-Plane, not Auto Ortho XP X-Plane, which is a little later version. We've got Sim Heaven for the vegetation fill in. And we have XP 12.4 standard for the airport and all the rest of the underlying scenery.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Now that audio was nice and loud.
Winching strap and adapter in position. Release parking brake when ready to start pushback.
All right.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
All right, so to start the engine, we turn it to run, and we count to 2. 1001, 1002, start. And now what we'll see is N2 rising, ignition will come on, and in a few seconds, we'll have fuel flow. There we go, and fuel flow starts. Once we get past 56.4, we can actually start the second engine and go through the same process. Run, 1001, 1002, start. And then we'll watch the same thing happen where we've got N2 rising, ignition, and then fuel flow. Okay, notice that our takeoff mode is now blue. So we've been that has been activated. All right, let's go back up here and button up our overhead. We've got our APU bleed off. We want to turn the APU, press the APU stop button, but we do not want to turn the APU switch off yet. Bleeds are off.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
X-bleed is auto, and set the parking brake. Fine. Now what we want to do, double check here.
Disconnecting tow, stand by.
We've got takeoff 1 here, but we got roll and pitch there. So what we want to do is takeoff mode over there. We press takeoff go around, and we switch us to takeoff roll on this side here. So now we can check our flight control. So I'm going to go ahead and start with, got full range there, full range here. Now what we'll do is we will turn the APU off once this goes to, says off, OFF.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Okay, now we can go ahead and finish our rudder test. Okay, full travel for the rudder, so that takes care of the flight control. Wait till we see the pin. He's got it there, so we can go ahead and wink at him with the taxi light, leave the taxi light on, and APU now shows off. So we can turn the APU off up here. All right, now parking brake is off, and all right, come over here, Avatab Airport, and we've got MBVP. Oh, for crying out loud. MBPV. Oh, finally! Alright, there's our airport info. And see if we're still, okay. Go down to the G, come around, and go to the N. That's pretty easy. Alright, just double check while we're here. Roll takeoff. We've got takeoff 1. This error message is because I had the throttle not in the idle position. Forgot to check that. All right. Sounds like an old tractor. Okay. Brake. Flaps 22. Let's come up here. Strobe. Landing lights. And ice protection. Attendant call. And parking brake off. Let's just do a double check. Make sure that Traffic Global doesn't have any planes sneaking up on us. And we can do a takeoff config. And takeoff okay. We've lost some of our internal volume speakers there. Oh, I missed that one. All right, I'm getting some glare here. All right. Let's see, 19 knots. I need to slow down just a bit. Oh, let's see. Heading sync. Okay, let's do the heading sync again. Elapsed time, so switch it to elapsed time mode. No terrain radar. And now what we want to do is bring the throttle up to close to this point here. When you get real close, it will pop into place. You do not want to put the throttle all the way forward. This person, I'm not certain what they're doing. They didn't see me. Okay, fine. Well, he's not going to move out of my way. I'm going to just run over him. So bring the throttle up, and now watch it. Okay, there it pops in place. It's as real as it gets. All right, rotate. Now I'm going to drop it down to about 10 degrees. Wait, there's no mountains or hills to worry about, so I'm going to just follow this here until I get up to about 1,000 feet. All right, flaps up. All right, so now what I'm looking at, getting close to 210. I'm going to go ahead and select the speed and heading and autopilot. Okay, now I'm going to start getting the heading over to an intercept point, and I'm going to increase the speed up to 210 and keep the heading coming over. I thought I did the brought the gears up. Okay, and then we can do the strobe off. Keep the heading over here. Intercept course, and then map out there. All right, speed at 210. We've got, finally, got the landing gear up, and looking good so far. We are climbing for our virtual airline. Even with all the mistakes I made, then we are starting to close in a bit, maybe. Heading IAS altitude select. Yaw damper is on. We are looking okay. Should be just a couple of more minutes before. Okay, we're starting to get some movement here. Or is it my imagination? All right. $10,000, we can turn off our landing lights, seat belts. Oh, I forgot to do, I should have put this in climb mode. I have a shortcut key for that. You can also put it in climb mode, pressing this button here, cruise button, takeoff mode, for those three there. Let's go see what we find out here. Definitely a more interesting airplane to fly. With the E-jets, Embraer E-jets, you know, you can basically get in. Once you take off, you can fly all the way to your destination, to the top of descent, and start descent automatically, and get most of the way down when, you know, without doing hardly anything at all with the auto throttle and the navigation system. So it definitely have a little bit more interaction with the ERJ. Well, it makes it more fun. Definitely, it's a different thing. It's not just another automatic. Everything is automatic on it. So it makes it fun to me. Let's see. We can go ahead and start setting up a few things ahead of time. We've got an ILS approach. And that is 109.1. So we've got this is closing in, so we'll go ahead and bring the heading over and press nav, And 109.1 is what our nav is set to from my last go-around attempt. Okay, so we've got LNAV, IAS. Now we're just going to keep on climbing at 210 until we get to 32,000. So we are at 17,300. So at 18,000, we'll go ahead and put standard pressure. Standard. Go ahead and do the same thing over here. Let's see. Standard. We've got, this is in FMS mode now. And go ahead and bring this up here. Oh, let's see. Let's look at progress mode. So we've got 352 nautical miles to go, and we have 2,600 pounds of fuel remaining for when we arrive there. So that is good. Do a map out here a little bit, and also a heading sync, and we are at standard there. So once we're at cruise altitude, I will either press my shortcut or the cruise button over here, and now it'll basically fly itself. At 210, we won't have to worry too much about it. Sometimes when you are trying to reach the maximum altitude, if you do 240 especially, you may have to start cutting the speed down in order to maintain your altitude increase. And while it's doing that, let's see, I think what I'll do is from here until we get to the cruise altitude, I'll go ahead and do a fast forward so we can just jump ahead to that or do it relatively quickly. Heard that, I didn't hear it. Great Inagua Island, just north of Cuba. 0.63. Oh, we're getting up there. What I usually do is start backing off once I get to see the red mark on the speed tape. So there's two things we need to do at cruise. One is to change the mode to cruise, and then the second thing is start easing off on the throttle a little bit. Usually doesn't take too much, especially when you're up in the above 30,000 feet. It's still need a pretty good thrust level to maintain the speed. Let me just double check here also. Got a pretty good crosswind for landing. 7 knot cross, 2 knots headwind. That's all right. Not too big a deal. We'll just have to keep that in mind when we turn off the autopilot. All right, so notice we've got the red mark on our speed tape now. We're aboard 697. Let's see, we want 0.74 is the sim brief target. I think it's 7.3. I will go ahead and put it in cruise mode. Okay, so there, let's go to cruise thrust rating. And that'll slow it down a little bit. And then leave the thrust where it's at. Now what I'm going to do is bring up this, our progress again. And it's for anticipating that we have our top of descent at 161 nautical miles from here. Now, just happen to have done our calculations, so we're ready for our descent. The calculation descent is 90 nautical miles to our 4,000 foot point. That 4,000 foot point is Kino, which is right here, right before where we come around the corner for the final. So, and that is, let's see, 6, 10, 13, 16, let's say 20 nautical miles to be on the safe side. So that would be 90 plus 20 is 110. I think it'll add another 10 miles just to be on the safe side in case I end up. So, okay, we're at 0.73, and so I'm going to start backing away just a little bit on the throttle. We're close enough to the target speed. So 120 is my descent point for miles from the destination. So 120, that would be 136. So it's about 10 nautical miles before the calculated. So I'm being a little bit generous, but it's pretty close. I usually do 1900 descent rate, 742. Okay, so we've actually dropped a little bit in speed with the adjustment of the throttle. Go ahead, back a little bit. Okay, so we've got another stretch here. We've got 130 miles or so, nautical miles to go. We are going at 400 knots, so 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and, well, let's see. Let's finish out the checklist here. So, check everything. This looks good. We've got our environmental control is good. Fuel is good. We are actually still looking at 3,000 pounds for landing. Hydraulic is good, and electrical is good. All right, so let's go ahead and do our prep work for the our landing. Just double check 0.743. Okay, we're pretty stable as far as our speed is concerned. Let's go ahead and take a look at our weather and go here, view our sim brief, and bring up our landing. All right, so our landing weight is 40,900. Okay, so 40,900, we're landing on 12. Navigaph has our wind and weather at 310/. 7 QNH 74. 1014. And we're going to try flaps at 22, which is normal, unless we're real short or icy. Okay, so, all right, we're taking about 2/3 of the runway, so we got plenty of room left over there. We can go ahead and send this to the PFD. All right, now what we can do is just like what we did for the. So we've got the 134, 164, 133, 164, 133, 138. Okay, so this looks good. Again, we can go in here and modify it, but it is only for reference anyways. So, all right, so we've sent it to the actually, we didn't send it to the MFS. We sent it to the PFD. So we sent it, and we verified. Speed brake is off. Radio, we've already set 109.1 and 109.1 with a course of 123. I'll go over how to set the course there in a few minutes, once we get closer. All right, so the approach brief is done, and I will now, what I'll do is go ahead and fast forward to when we're closer to the destination. Let's check it here. We've got the galley. Everything looks good. And there's our lights. Let's see. All right. Lights work. Dim works. Increase works. Cool. All right. Now we can pop in here. All right, that was pretty good for virtual airline food. So we've maintained our speed pretty darn well. And we are 131 nautical miles from Jamaica. Which is, let's see, it's going to be about 10 nautical miles before the calculated top of descent. So I'm going to start backing off here, and with the throttle, dropping our speed down a little bit. Descent is roughly 250.74. We'll keep it a little slower than that. we can do a map in. We are going to set our ILS course at Gabus. We've already got our altitude, target altitude set at 4,000. Vertical speed, we are going to go ahead and set it at 2,000 right now. And then back off on the throttle. I'm just gradually adjusting the throttle here. So we've started our descent. We've got our altimeter at, well, altitude actually. That was been corrected, but I haven't replaced that. Anyways, altitude at, we've got that set at 10,000 feet. We need to be at 250. And we need to, between 10,000 feet and 8,000 feet, we want to slow down to 240 knots. So that's our basic descent strategy. Got 2 minutes to the next waypoint, Gabus. Back off on the throttle a little bit more. I'm going to bring this up to 6,000 feet. Well, actually, there was a steep descent at T-map, so I'm going to do 5,000 feet. So I know there's some hills down there before the airport. So let me go to 5,000 feet. And the transition level, I think, was 8,000. Transition is 18,000, so we can go ahead and go to 1014. That's not going to make a whole lot of difference. All right, 1014 for our altitude altimeter. Okay, we've got our glide slope path there, so let's go ahead and doing good. So heading sync, heading mode, navigation mode, and we want, okay, nav mode, we want course to be 123. 123? Okay, so now what we need to do is go back to FMS mode and nav mode. And that is setting our course. Now we go map in. All right. Back off the throttle just a hair. I've got 60 nautical miles to go for destination. Let's go ahead and have a tab, search. MKJP, get that right. And airport. Arrival. Approach. Okay, 109.1, 123. We get that up there. That looks good. All right. Landing lights on, taxi lights on, fasten seat belts, and wake up the attendants. So our rule of thumb here is to be at 30 nautical miles, be at 240, which we are at now, so we're looking good there. And then at 20 nautical miles, 210. We can bring the speed up to 1400. Bring the throttle up just a hair. So 8,000 feet GL 240, 6,520 miles. All right, leveling off of 5,000. And 28 nautical miles. And I'm going to select vertical speed. And 25 nautical miles. Map in. I'm idle for the throttle. A lot hazier than yesterday. Bring the throttle up here. Let's see, at Kino we need to so 210 at 20 nautical miles. We're pretty close to that. Once we get around the corner here at Kino, now we want 10 nautical miles, flaps 9. All right. Nav mode, approach. Okay, now we want to drop down to 170. I'm so used to 13 nautical miles to on the larger jets that have more flaps to use to start using it. So it seems strange to wait until 10 nautical miles for the first flap setting. Let's see, we got VR of 135. All right, 10.5, that's close enough. We'll do flaps 22 and throttle up a little bit. Oh, good, clearing up a little bit here in the clouds. All right, back off, now the throttle. We've got flaps 9 at 8 nautical miles. We want 170 at 8 is 160 and flaps 22. All right, there's 8, flaps 22. Looks like we are just about getting. All right, throttle up here. 158, that's pretty darn close to 160. Spoilers are automatically deployed on touchdown, so we don't have to set anything as far as the speed brakes or anything for that. All right. 5 nautical miles geared down. All right. Attendant call. Let's see, I'm going to turn off autopilot and line up a little bit more. All right, flaps are at 22, which is where we want for landing. We have a little low here. Gear down. And we are at approach speed here.
$500. 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
All right, reverse and full forward for throttle. Reverse off. Flaps up. And all right, strobe should have been put on. Oh, what'd I do? Pushing the wrong button here. Okay, we can stop our elapsed timer. 1 hour and 11 minutes. That's not bad for that. Transponder on standby. And strobe is off. Taxi light is on. APU switch. Let's turn that on. And solid yellow. So we can do a start. Okay, there we can meander in. Okay, APU bleed on. And shed bus overhead. Override. And I'm going to go ahead and turn engine 2 off for the taxi. Makes it a little bit more precise as far as going up to the gate. I'm not certain what which gate we were supposed to be at, but I think that we can go up here to the closer to the main building. Make the passengers happy that they don't have to walk a mile. And we can put this away and this away. All right, swing in here to gate 7. Watch the DGS. All right, and stop. Brakes. Speed brake is open. Taxi off. Engine off. No smoking. Dome off. Red beacon. Nav off. And transponder set off. Okay. Trims are neutral. They look good. Go ahead and dismiss that. Hydraulic pumps are off. And ice protection windshield is off. We'll go ahead and turn off the sensors as well. and connect to the GPU. And it looks to me like, let's see, we can go ahead and open these up. Okay, jetway is already there, so we can go ahead and pop in here. And there we go. All right, the gateway, jetway is right there. Now we can go ahead and lock the gust lock, bring it back, yokes up, and locked. And at this point, we're ready for turnaround. Actually, we can connect that up here and turn off the APU control, avionics master off, emergency light off, interior exterior is okay. Bleeds 1 and 2 off. APU button start, which I believe I already did. Yeah, it's winding down here, almost ready to shut. We'll turn APU switch off when it gets to off down here. Shed bus is auto. Fuel pump power is off. And the last thing to do is turn the battery off once we get off here. There were 1%, 0. Takes this a minute or two to cool down enough to turn off. All right, that is off. Switch the APU control to off. And now we are ready to turn the batteries off and shut down and get to our hotel room. Actually, that's the battery, not the shed buses there. All right, so this is the complete XChecklist for the version 2 of the XCrafts ERJ suite of aircraft. Feel free to leave comments and any suggestions for improvements. Thanks a lot.